There's one movie that's hitting the firestorm everybody's talking about, and it's bringing kids back into theaters to see. And it's a horror movie, folks.
Yeah, I saw this at 10 a.m. on the day that it came out, and it was a nearly packed theater, 90% full.
Yeah.
And I was just so happy because that's kind of the screening I go to where I'm like not wanting to see people. But I was so happy to see a packed theater in this current day and age of film. So we're going to talk about Osgood Perkins, that's the son of Anthony Perkins, directing Longlegs. Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. I'm one of your hosts, Kyle Goethe from GoatFilmReviews.com.
Hey, you found us. Thank you for watching. Thanks for finding us. And for our loyal fans, thank you for continuing to support the show. Another way you can support the show, join the Patreon. We have some great deals and great opportunities to tell us what movies we can review for future episodes. But of course, a shout out to you as well. Kyle and I we know our stuff. We're members of the Minnesota Film Critics Alliance. Check out that webpage for critics reviews as well as ours. And today we're talking about the horror hit that's coming out of nowhere. Well, technically didn't. We've been watching that trailer.
We've been really interested in it for a
while, for a long time. Longlegs.
So FBI agent Lee Harker has been assigned to the Longlegs case, where a serial killer is placing coded messages at crime scenes that seemingly involve murder-suicide. But how can you find a killer who hasn't touched a single victim?
Okay, I saw this at a Wednesday midnight screening. It was a packed theater, and I think it's a microcosm of what everybody's going on with everybody with this review. I sat with an older couple next to me who were roughly the same age as me, and after the movie looked at the chair and go, that is the dumbest shit I've ever saw in my life. And the entire row in front of us with teenage girls saying, this is the greatest horror movie I've ever seen. And that is what we have. Yeah. I have to quote Tom Hanks from Big. I don't get it. I don't get it. You're not here going to fight it. I understand why it is super cringy. You want to take a shower after seeing it. I kind of enjoy those flavors, but that is the threadest storyline I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, and I certainly think Osgood Perkins is not one for complex storytelling, at least from the films I've seen of his. You know, a couple years ago I watched I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives Inside the House. I think it's a Netflix original. I hated the movie. I couldn't stand it. 90 minutes could not end quick enough. But
no, I don't hate this movie. I just have a tough time. For me, being 47 years old, who enjoys horror movies, and I list all I liked all these horror movies I've seen. I just don't get why people. I thought it's a parody of a horror movie. That's what I thought. I was like, it looks like they're making fun of horror movies the entire time doing this.
Yeah, and that's kind of a Perkins thing though, because even like Gretel and Hansel, his follow-up film to that, which released kind of during the COVID pandemic, I loved that one. I thought that was fantastic.
The Hansel and Gretel one.
Yeah, it was I thought it was very well put together. It's again more of a mood piece than as a story piece. It's a very simple story. And then this one kind of falls in between where, again, I'm definitely on the more positive side of things. I really enjoyed this movie. I thought that because I expected it to be a Silence of the Lambs akin film, so having it begin that way was very kind of interesting to me because I was like, okay, so we're kind of doing this. We're going along these beats and paths. But having those elements that kind of reveal themselves as the film go on, some of them less successfully than others, but I still appreciate the swing.
For me, and look, celebrate all you want. You're just not going to get it from me, and that's fine. But she has psychic abilities, and that's not demonstrated the rest of the movie. You know what I mean? If you're psychic, you would kind of figure out, oh my God,
I'm less so thinking that she has psychic abilities, and we're going to kind of dive into a few spoilery things.
Other than that's given to her?
I think that it's something that she has specifically to him.
Okay.
Because of the whole discussion of something that's inside of the doll versus inside of her. I think it's more akin to that, but that kind of goes back to I do wish that there were certain things that were just connected a little bit better with the finale of the film. Again, I appreciate the big swing that he's taking here, more so than a more simplistic take.
Right.
But yeah, there are some connections that aren't made where it's kind of you're expected to make them, and I think since the movie does make such a big swing, I think they should have connected those a little bit better.
And for me, he's a coward. He doesn't like human interaction. He'd rather make a doll and then live in his... To the point where he gets arrested, he offs himself, and I hate this constantly. I've seen it so many times. I've saw another movie already.
Yeah, we just talked about it last week.
Banging your head on the self-mutilation of your face. And I just saw another movie that just had it, on a horror movie that just came out. And can we stop? It's such a cliche of just hurting yourself on the face.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think Nicolas Cage it's a combination of, I think, a really cool performance for him, because it's, again, kind of a combination of like the artsy stuff he's done recently with kind of that extreme cageisms from the late 2000s, early 2010s, but it is combined with, there's some really, I think this movie is a very well marketed movie in that it makes you want to see it very badly. It makes you want to find out what Nicolas Cage's thing is.
Wonderful. Tone, wonderful. Acting, I would say sensational. I think whoever's playing the agent here.
I love Maika Monroe. I mentioned it in another recent discussion.
Because that can go way off with somebody who's socially awkward. You can do that she's dumb or way overly skilled, but she has the right needle. Blair Underwood's fantastic.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in many movies recently, so it's kind of fun to see him pop up again.
But every step, I understand everybody's step and logical step in Silence of the Lambs. I don't understand everybody's step afterwards. Even when he's gone, the mother continues. It's like, why?
Yeah. Again, it's those kinds of leaps near the end that I would have loved a little bit more time spent, because the movie feels like a slow burn, but it also feels like it's rushing at times, where I feel like, especially near the end, it's almost a goal to finish the movie, to get to the ending. And I think like that ending set piece, that ending climax that's there, is pretty intense. I mean, it's pretty powerful stuff.
I would crave
more time with it.
More time of the villain really getting his hands dirty and doing it himself rather than handing off the keys to somebody. That feels like it's cowardly. Like, I'm not afraid of him if he's comes up to anybody and he's like, you know.
Yeah, I think this is a movie where all those performances are almost going to be flip of the coin for some people, because I've already heard people say that Maika Monroe's performance wasn't very good because she's so awkward, and I said that's kind of the point. That's the point of her character.
Everything is all unhinged. Everything is all doesn't
is
make
that
sense.
she has trouble connecting with people, and that's why she likes focusing on puzzles. That's why she likes solving these kinds of things.
Yeah.
Kind of in a symbiance with him. He doesn't connect with people either, but he has to cause harm in the same way. And so I like that both of them have that. But I saw people, every time Nicolas Cage spoke in the movie, I had people that I heard audibly like shrink away into their seats, and I heard other people laugh. Yeah. So it's such a peculiar reaction that the movie's going to have, and I think that's why we're getting these
my initial seeing the movie at midnight, I go, somebody's making fun of me enjoying horror movies. That's what I thought. I thought this is like almost like an SNL parody of a horror movie. And I go, and then I thought, then I look at social media that it's blowing up, and I go, oh my God, this is like me when I was in college with Blair Witch Project. I didn't get that. Why everybody loves this movie.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, all right, I'll be in the minority. I just don't get it. And I feel like it's like come back full circle with this movie. Like, everybody loves it. And I go, I just don't get it. I'm sorry. I feel and I put it on social, what am I missing? And people are like, well, go see it again. I go, I don't need to see it again to know.
Well, it is a movie that I think if you like the movie, you will like it not knowing all the answers, but you will want to see it again.
People forgive a lot of other. When you enjoy things, you'll forgive a lot of other things you see.
Well, entertainment value is important with that, you know. But it comes back to, I don't think this is a movie that you need to see multiple times to like the movie. You either like it or you don't. And I think this movie is going to be one of those movies we define at the end of the year by the people responding to your take. You're completely valid in your take, just like I'm completely valid in liking the movie. But it's the people that are going to respond by saying, you're wrong, go see it again. And it's like, no, because the movie has to at least make you want to see it again. There have been movies I've hated where I'm like, I need to see this again. Like, I still need to watch it again to kind of, and that's kind of a different thing that it enticed me enough that I wanted to explore it. I don't think this is a movie you need to see more than once. If you didn't like it, it's not going to sway you that way.
And once again, the tone is perfect in the movie. It's very unhinged. Acting, wonderful. I looked at all the cinematography and everything, but the story and the motivations of just doing evil to evil doesn't work for me. I understand the Joker's motivations throughout the Batman. I get it. It's just to create chaos and to hurt. But I don't understand the necessity of him. Serial killers always have a reason why they stay this way.
Yeah.
And I just want a little bit of flushed out to like that.
See, and I felt like this was kind of akin to Seven in some ways, where it's like we get a little bit of why, you know, the killer in Seven is doing his thing, but at the same time we don't fully understand it at the end of the film. Yeah. And again, it's kind of that like throwback film where it might be too similar to other types of movies. It might feel like it's copying those kinds of films. I really enjoyed Osgood Perkins's direction around the film. I think this is a case though where Gretel and Hansel was not written by Osgood Perkins, and I think maybe he needs someone in the writing department who he can kind of work alongside, because the film is a little bit more threadbare.
Feels like more like an outline than a flushed out story.
And I've seen that kind of play out for some of his other movies where I think the stuff he does that's writing is a little bit less successful than the stuff where he's adapting somebody else's screenplay.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to see him find a writing partner who can kind of help elevate his stuff. But for me, the movie was definitely a big win. I really enjoyed it, and I want to check it out again. Maybe not as much as Gretel and Hansel, but I think in a year of horror movies where I'm like, good, but like I'm not feeling much with that, this was one that definitely elevated my interest level. And it hit all the aesthetics that I like. It hit the things like I like chapters,
I agree.
and I like these kinds of weird hunts for the killer. I do enjoy that unhingedness that takes place.
Yeah, it's just if you handed me that script and read a workshop, I'd like, you got to work better on that.
Yeah, I would have. Yeah, I would have added things because I don't think the movie feels like when it hits the ending. I was like, oh, we're done. Okay, like it felt like one more scene. It felt like expounding on its ideas a bit more.
Show the violence. This is why I like In Violent Nature that doesn't pan the camera away from the violence. Show it.
Yeah.
Show it. You know, if you're a husband that's going to chop your wife's head off, show it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I feel like you could have done that. I mean, Neon.
If you're going to take a knife and do your stomach, don't look like it's just a fake prop that's stuck. Show me. Open it up.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where I get frustrated. Like, show it to me. Yeah.
I think...
Unless you want to do, like, Exorcist Part 3, where you... Boom. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And then your mind fills the blanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it did for me in this one, is because when you were like, show the violence, I was like, well, there was a lot of violence. But then when you started describing it, I was like, well, we didn't see that guy hack someone up with the axe. We didn't, he walked into the kitchen. Like, I feel like I saw the violence. It's kind of like the shark from Jaws. I feel like I saw the shark more than I did. You know what I mean? Like, it's the absence of something that, you wanted more violence.
And I think that's
always
another key violence. Is the wonderful play, like a magician. You think you saw your brain interpreted it. You put it in there.
And that's the same kind of thing that he does with the backgrounds of certain sequences, because I think the camera placement is really interesting with his DP, Andrus Arak, who places the camera basically where you always see like an open door behind a character.
Sure.
And you're always looking to see what's going to happen to that open door.
It's wonderful.
Nothing really happens with those open doors, and yet thinking about the movie, I'm like, wait, was he in the background? I don't know. Like, it happens a lot with that kind of a movie. I think it's a movie that convinces you you've seen more than you have.
Right.
If you're on the wavelength of it,
But there's a lot of opinions about this movie. Keep the conversation going.
Yeah, let us know your thoughts on Longlegs. If you loved it, if you hated it, if you're somewhere in between, that's okay. And I think this is a movie that kind of breeds those extreme reactions.
Yeah.
And these are just two of ours. So
I'm gonna do it strong. If you like this movie, check out The Pledge, which is kind of almost the same take, but it's not the killer. It's that somebody believes there's a serial killer out there.
Yeah, it does kind of play with that search of, is there really a killer at all kind of a thing.
Check out The Pledge instead of Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to say the Silence, and I can see it, because that's how the movie starts. It is very Silence of the Lambs at the beginning.
Yeah.
But I don't think it ended up being that. So thank you for joining us for this episode of Kyle and Nick on Film. You can find all of my film reviews over at goatfilmreviews.com.
What is it? What the hell is Longlegs? I went through the whole journey. I still don't know what Longlegs are.
Give it a couple more weeks at the box office. We'll see the Longlegs.
Okay, that's what it is. It's just to keep the longevity of it.
Yes.
Okay. All right. You can find Michelle at St. Paul Filmcast and you can find podcasts. Thank you.